Scams are everywhere when you travel. Locals trying to catch unsuspecting tourists off guard and take their money. Even if you stand up for yourself, in some cases it can be dangerous. It might even lead to you getting hurt. Some scams are innocent and you can walk away, but some you can end up in a scary situation. Usually the only way out is by handing over all your money. If you haven't traveled often or you're too trusting, you might regret it. In this video, I'll go over scams and even some very dangerous ones that you might not know about. The first scam you need to watch out for is not so dangerous, but it can lead to you being in a very frustrating situation. It can cause you to lose your money, and maybe even the police will be involved. When you go somewhere like Asia, motorbikes are everywhere. It's so easy to rent one. But what do you do if you're accused of damaging it? Even if it's not true. A common scam you might experience when traveling is a rental scam. Even back home, you might experience it. It's a sneaky tactic, often targeting tourists, getting items such as bikes, jet skis, scooters, or even snorkeling equipment. You rent an item, you return it, and then the owner claims you damaged it. They might even show pre-existing scratches, dents, or other issues and accuse you of causing it. You're then pressured into paying a repair fee or paying to replace the item altogether. This might sound crazy, but it can definitely happen. In some countries, renting items that you use day to day can lead to the item being damaged. So the rental companies, they try to trick tourists. Not all locals or companies will do this, but if they do, they know you going to the police and disputing this will be very hard since you probably don't speak the language. So you're the perfect target. If you rent from the wrong person, it can lead to a big headache besides a lighter wallet. Now, if you want to avoid this, I'm sure you already do this anyway, but take pictures of everything, document the item you're renting just to know what condition is when you return it, inspect the item, look at all the scratches, make sure the company knows what scratches they have just so they can't trick you with something you didn't see before. Use trusted vendors that are recommended by others. You can find trusted vendors on Facebook groups or ask locals there, ask your friends there visiting. This might seem excessive, but it's worth it for that peace of mind to know that when you return the item, you won't be scammed. There's another rental scam you might run into, and this one is the vanishing scooter scam. It might sound like a magic trick, but it's in no way magic. The only thing that happens is your scooter vanishes without you getting it back. And then you have to pay the company money for losing that scooter. I've heard about it happening before in Bali. I've heard about foreign rental companies in these places that set up shop and they trick tourists. This scam involves the rental company having a tracker on the scooter. When you go out for the night, when you go to sleep, or when you go somewhere and leave the scooter unattended, they have another key and then they take that scooter. And then when you return the scooter, you're gonna have to pay a lot more money just for losing it. So it's basically the rental company getting paid for 2 scooters instead of just one. And like I said before in the last scam, the best way to avoid this is by renting from a trusted company. Keep the scooter inside a closed garage or have someone watch the parking lot you leave your scooter in. So always be careful with renting a scooter or any rental equipment when you go traveling. Now, getting away from rental scams. This next one is very clever and can catch a lot of people off guard since most tourists do their best to follow the rules and be respectful of local authority. But should you always listen to the police? So this is the setup for the next one. Scammers impersonating a police officer accuse you of a fake crime, like having fake money, and they demand a fine on the spot. They might be dressed in uniforms, flashing lights, flashing fake badges, approach you and say you committed something. They act like they're authority, they intimidate you, they look through your belongings when they have no right to do that. And to resolve the situation quickly, they demand a bribe. This can be really terrifying, especially if you're traveling and visiting a new country. You don't know the language, they can be shouting at you in a foreign language. If this does happen to you, this is how you can deal with it. Ask for ID, inspect it carefully, maybe take a photo of it. Stay calm, don't fall for their intimidation tactics, take a breath. Insist on resolving this issue at a official station. Protect your valuables, never give out your passport or anything like that. You need to be aware of these fake officials. They can use intimidation to scare tourists, and this is very bad because it stops tourists from wanting to come back. So make sure you do some research to know of like the hotspots of where fake officials can be or where this has happened before, just to be prepared. Now, the next one kind of falls into the same category, but it's also very frustrating. Maybe not as scary, but it will leave you annoyed. Now, besides fake police, you might even get fake officials trying to get you to pay an extra entry fee to enter somewhere even though you don't need to pay for this fee. The fake visa or entry fee scam is a common travel scam targeting unsuspecting tourists at borders, airports, or checkpoints. And it isn't even uncommon for tourists to get stopped at airports in like Asia or other countries, get sent to a room with some officials, and although they are real, they'll try to scare you, intimidate you, say something's wrong with your visa or your passport, and they try to get you to pay a bribe just for you to get out of the situation. I know one friend that happened to when she was traveling before. So just know that officials can't do this. Always double check that your visa information is correct. You can also experience fake officials selling tickets at official tourist spots. You hear a lot about it at the pyramids of Giza, with people trying to sell you tickets to get in even though you don't need to buy their tickets. You should always do some research about fake entry visas, fake officials, where they might be. Always be skeptical as well if they appear in a random location, and do some research online about where to buy the tickets for a destination, what you need for entering a country with the visas. Also carry evidence that you already have the visa, something you purchased to enter this tourist spot or the country. Stay calm. Now, the next scam is so common and many people fall for it because they think they can outsmart these scammers, but reality is you'll probably just lose a lot of money. Now, this next one is a little less harmful, but it's still a scam nonetheless, because it's usually a street performer or a street game that you can't win. In Europe, you might see groups of people playing a dice and cup game on the street. You might see someone win lots of money, but it's all a scam. Usually that person winning is part of the scam. You won't win money from these games. The people playing it are usually all a part of it. You can even lose up to 300 euros if you play. They might be really friendly and motivate you to keep playing, but that's just a tactic to get you to be comfortable. And usually if a police officer comes by, they all scatter to go somewhere else. Now, besides these street games, you might even get scammed by street performers. They might ask you to participate in the performance, and once it's done, they might force you to donate for being a part of it. Charismatic street performer or group sets up in a busy touristy area, showcasing impressive act. You feel pressure to participate because they invite you, they keep cheering you on to join. Or in some cases, you're caught in the middle of the act because where you're standing, and after the performance, there's a trap. You're pressured to make a donation. The performers or their accomplices may intimidate you or guilt trip you into paying a larger sum than you expected, or even sometimes they block your way out or make you feel embarrassed for not paying. Whenever you're out sightseeing and you want to avoid these traps, observe from a distance, avoid participation, walk away if pressured, and beware of games. Always stay on your toes. The friendliest of games or performances can be a scam. The next scam can be really frightening, and it can happen to any unsuspecting tourist, especially those traveling alone. Make sure you stick around to avoid this scary scenario. Now, this scam seems really common in Shanghai, and it is pretty simple. Be scammed for so much money if you don't pay attention. This is called the tea house or restaurant scams. The setup is a stranger invites you for tea, coffee, or a meal, and then you're presented with an inflated bill, sometimes hundreds of dollars. Intimidation or threats may follow if you refuse to pay. So you can be alone, just walking around lost, and then someone who speaks fluent English can come up to you and ask you to hang out. I know it's nice to make friends and meet new people, but always be skeptical. They might not have your best interests at heart. This is how it might play out. You're taken to a small, inconspicuous tea house, cafe, or restaurant. The meal or tea appears. You hang out with the person, and there's no prices mentioned. And then the trap. When the bill arrives, it's highly inflated, sometimes hundreds of dollars. You refuse to pay. Staff or accomplices may intimidate or threaten you until you settle the amount. It's very scary. Can you imagine being in that situation? Now, to avoid this, it's very simple. Be cautious of strangers that offer to hang out with you. Research venues that you know are reliable. Research places you know you can eat and you know it's not a trap. Ask for the prices up front. Stay alert. And lastly, travel in groups if you can. I know it's not possible for everyone, but it's always easier to target someone by themselves. Now, let's talk about the next scam that can be a trap for any single guy. Usually, if you're a single guy, alone or traveling, you might be approached by a cute girl, or you might even match with a cute girl on Tinder, but don't trust them so easily. This is what can happen. Imagine you're in Europe, a solo traveler. You meet a flirty local who invites you to a great bar. After ordering the drinks, it seems like perfect scenario, almost too good to be true. You get the bill, it's $200. She disappears, and you're left there to pay the bill. So sometimes these girls work for nasty dudes, or they're just trying to get a cut of the bill, of the money, and they're just trying to make a living. They don't care who they affect, who they target. So always be aware of this. This is a real scam. It can happen. They might even ask you for money directly. Now, like the other one, how you can avoid it, be skeptical of strangers. Offer to meet somewhere. Don't let her choose. You pick the destination. You pick the venue. If she doesn't agree with it, or if you're a girl and you're in the situation, if the guy doesn't agree with it, then don't meet that person. Pay attention to red flags. Lastly, trust your instinct. In Vietnam, you might experience this actually. You might find a girl on Tinder and she might invite you to a club or a bar, but really she's a promoter there. She's gonna buy a bunch of drinks and you're gonna have to spend a lot of money that night. She doesn't treat you like a date at all, just like another target. Now, there's another scam kind of like this one where you can end up in a very sketchy bar, a very scary situation. So make sure you stick around because this next one can be very dangerous for you. The next one This one works just like the last one, except when you end up in the club or bar and you want to leave after being scammed for a big bill, guys who organize this whole thing, they won't let you leave, have big bodyguards at the door, and intimidate you into paying. It can be a really scary situation, and if you look online, there are many stories of this happening. Usually it happens to drunk tourists who are out wandering around alone at night. Even in touristy areas it can happen, and the girl or whoever is luring you away from that touristy area, it's very easy for them to take you into an alleyway or somewhere very quiet away from the public. By the time the door closes behind you, it's probably set in on you the reality of your situation. Always avoid wandering alone at night without any destination in mind, especially if you're drunk. If you're out alone at night, just walk straight from A to B if you want to get home or get to another bar. Don't make any stop. Don't look like an easy target. Never accept anyone's offer to go anywhere. Even if the person seems nice, it's a beautiful model, whatever. Never accept their offer to go anywhere. I've learned this from my many years of traveling and hearing many stories of people ending up in really bad situations. And lastly, this is a bonus tip. Whenever you go out drinking, always cover your drink. Know where your drink's been. Never leave it unattended. Spiking drinks can happen anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be America, Europe, Asia, anywhere. This is a very serious scam that can lead you to losing more than just money. It can lead you to being hurt. Don't put yourself in these scary situations. Trust your guts. If something's sketchy, back out right away, leave, go home. I have another video talking about some travel booking scams that can catch you off guard, and luckily, it won't be physically dangerous, but you can lose a lot of money. You can lose your personal information. I recommend checking that one out just to be aware of these booking scams. What scams have you fallen for? I'd love to hear. I want to hear some stories of your experiences, how you can warn others when they go traveling, maybe some countries to be careful of when it comes to these scams.